A lot of people wonder what mouthwashes to use. I'm going to walk you through the ones that I use and how I use them. So spoiler alert, I actually do not routinely use mouthwash. I don't use it every day. It's not a part of my regular hygiene routine. And I think for most people, unless their dentist instructs them otherwise, that's what most people need to follow. That's true for most folks. So mouthwash you want to use for brief periods of time, I'd say usually no longer than 2 weeks, for a specific indication or purpose. Something like gingivitis, periodontal disease management, after a surgery, to aid in healing if you've had like a wound or an injury, for an added boost of cavity prevention, and that might be the one case where you might use it more often. But again, I don't think you need it every day at the same time as toothbrushing. I'll get into that a bit more in a second, and for bad breath management. So the first one we'll talk about is cavity prevention. So adding mouth rinse, if you use the highest concentration available over the counter, which is 0.05% sodium fluoride, you're gonna get in 10 milliliters, so about a little cup full of that, the same dose of fluoride that you would get from your toothpaste. So some people use mouthwash if they can't stand the feel of toothpaste, if they're not able to brush with that fluoride toothpaste and then spit and walk away. Some people are like, I have to rinse afterward. If you've got to rinse afterward, rinse with water and then get that fluoride in there through the mouthwash and then spit that out and don't rinse with anything after. We want a little film of fluoride, whether from your toothpaste or from your mouthwash, to be on your teeth as you go about your day. You want to wait about 20 to 30 minutes after applying that fluoride from toothbrushing, from rinse, before you go eat or before you go drink. That gives the fluoride time to work. So that's also why before you go to bed, you want brushing to be the last thing you do. Don't get a sip of water, just go to sleep and let that fluoride sit there so it's not diluted. Another way to use fluoride mouthwash every day would be after something like lunch. If you don't have a toothbrush available, you can chew a piece of gum and then swish with some fluoride rinse. That's going to get some mechanical cleansing from chewing the gum to get the food debris and particles out, and then a little fluoride exposure after that acid attack from eating where your enamel got weakened, and you can help to re-strengthen it back. 2 fluoride rinses that I really like that have 0.05% sodium fluoride are Carefree and Act Kids, believe it or not. Most kids' mouthwashes are going to have that highest concentration, 0.05%, although some adult ones do too, and they've got fun flavors. And if you know me at all, you know that I like fun flavors. I'm not a huge mint fan. That's also why I like Carefree. This one's got sodium fluoride and also xylitol in it. It also has bicarbonate, so the cool thing about this is it's going to aid in neutralizing the pH of your mouth. It is a slightly more basic leaning mouthwash. It's not quite neutral. Most other mouthwashes are neutral, if not leaning toward acidity. And so this, being a little more basic, is going to help to balance the pH of your mouth after something like eating and an acid attack or sipping on coffee. So it's going to help neutralize that pH, get you some of that sodium fluoride, and also has xylitol, which over time we believe has some dental benefits, especially if you're doing it frequently throughout the day in the form of also chewing gum or mints, something like that. But Carefree comes in grape and citrus as well, not just mint. So I like that too. But do you have to use fluoride mouthwash? Not necessarily. If you're low cavity risk, I'm pretty low cavity risk. I used it regularly when I was pregnant, when I had acid reflux, when I was drinking a lot of coffee all day long, I would use that rinse, but I don't do that now. And so I really don't use it in my routine very much. Now let's talk about gingivitis. If you're someone that's got gingivitis or definitely something more severe like periodontitis, maybe after a surgery, sometimes your dentist is going to want to prescribe like an antibacterial type or antiseptic type mouthwash. So something like Listerine that has alcohol in it, or there's a rinse like this, like Breath RX from Sonicare. The main ingredients are essential oils, also in Listerine, and then cetylpyridinium chloride. Now, CPC is also present in things like Act. They have a low level of cetylpyridinium chloride. That's what makes it kind of anti-gingivitis too, whereas Carefree does not. So if you're not trying to target, you don't have the issue of gingivitis, you may not need one like Act. When you're looking at cavity fighting, just look for the sodium fluoride, no CPC. But something like this may be something your dentist would recommend if you're struggling with gingivitis, bleeding gums, something like that. The essential oils, that cetylpyridinium chloride, that's going to help with managing those inflamed gums and targeting those gingivitis-related bacteria. Another mouthwash your dentist may prescribe for you is something called chlorhexidine. That is also antibacterial. You just have to be really careful with that one, as prolonged use beyond 2 weeks, you're going to get staining. Brown staining that's really tenacious and hard to remove. So you don't want to use that for a long period, and you can only use it with the recommendation of your dentist. And lastly, we'll talk about bad breath. So a lot of people don't realize that bad breath, by and large, is caused by buildup of food debris and bacteria on the back part of your tongue. Ew. So just starting to tongue scrape regularly. I do it once a day. I like to use a metal tongue scraper. Avuli is my favorite brand. I'll link that below. But just cleaning off your tongue is going to help decrease that buildup of bacteria and the production of volatile sulfur compounds, or VSCs. Those are the stinky molecules of bad breath. But if you have more than that, sometimes you have to look at your diet. Sometimes you have to look at systemic conditions. Dry mouth can be a factor, post-nasal drip. There are a lot of reasons you might have bad breath. But if you've tried to address all of those and it still persists, you can add in a mouthwash. Now, the main ingredient in all of these anti-bad breath mouth rinses is stabilized chlorine dioxide. That's also called sodium chlorite. But what some studies have shown us is that's not really stable. It kind of reacts over time, doesn't have a super long shelf life. So these, Closis, OxyFresh, TheraBreath, they also have an added ingredient, sometimes like zinc, that's going to be targeting those volatile sulfur compounds, and they help a lot of people. But if you find that's not enough, my favorite one to use for bad breath is actually called ProFresh. And the way ProFresh is different is that you're activating it right after you open the bottle. It's not activated before then. So you know it's fresh. You're freshly activating this mouth rinse, so you've got the most active particles right at the time that you're going to use them. So ProFresh is what I like for bad breath. But the same story holds true. If I've got a bout of maybe dry mouth after a cold, that's when I'm going to use something like that along with my regular old routine, including tongue scraping. But if you've got persistent bad breath, you could have a dental infection, you could have periodontal disease, and that's something that you need to address. Don't just mask it with a mouthwash. You actually want to see your dentist and figure out the root cause of that problem. But I hope this has been helpful going through kind of my mouthwashes and what I might use for what indication. If you've got any more questions, let me know in the comments, and then you can check out next the video that YouTube thinks you're most going to enjoy. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like if this was helpful.